The only thing that gon' be normal is distribution. Normal folks gon' infuse some. Optimize your lineups and you feed the rest, you mute them. Turning it up, these numbers are loud. Peeping this game from a nimbus is wild. Making it rain. While I embrace all this risk, I'm insane. Talking about that best bill, I'm the best rest till into the next world. Guess I got next still. Best bill, I'm the best rest till into the next world. Guess I got next still.
And welcome in to the Week 12 edition of the Waiver Wire Show. My name is Bradley Stalder, and you are joining the Waiver Wire Show. Week 12, I got special. See, I'm making content for you. I'm adding things right here. I'm getting better at this content deal. So make sure you're hitting that subscribe button because I'm going to bring you some real good content, and I've done some redesigns for the show. So make sure you are hitting that subscribe, liking the videos, adding your comments, and continue to grow this community. We're up to over 340 subscribers just in the short few months, and I encourage you. You know, we're getting to the end of the season. Your league mates are like, how did you know that you got, how did you know about this player when you did? Or how did who suggested that you add them when you did? And you can say, well, you can follow this guy, Bradley, at FF Stalder on Twitter. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. I've got a great show for you tonight. Best Bell Fantasy Week 12 Waiver Wire Show. And make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. All right. We're going to kick it off with our first waiver wire ad, and that is, come on. Why is it? Technology. There we go. Our first waiver wire ad, Samaje Perine. I don't want you to add Samaje Perine for chasing the points. He scored 3 touchdowns this past Sunday against the Pittsburgh Steelers. He had 4 receptions, 4 targets, and he did most of his damage while Joe Mixon was out. About 2/3 of the snaps Samaje Perine got. 11 carries, 26 routes, 82 total yards, right? He finished as the running back 2 in full PPR, but you're not chasing the points. You are chasing the usage. Joe Mixon left this game with a concussion. And so, as we just saw, Samaje Perine got 15 touches in this game. And he's going to get between 14 and 18 touches in every game moving forward as long as Joe Mixon is out. And yes, you're thinking, well, maybe Chris Evans is going to be in. No, Chris Evans has regressed as a pass blocker. Samaje Perine instead has leveled up. And the coaches trust Samaje Perine. So who should you trust in your fantasy lineup if Joe Mixon is out? Samaje Perine. So you're not chasing the points, you're chasing the usage, and you have to be happy with if you had to spot start Samaje Perine this past week, he won you the week. That was an extra probably 25 points that he got you because his previous season high was 14.1. He got 30.2 PPR fantasy points. So consider Samaje Perine, especially as we haven't heard that Joe Mixon is going to get any better. The next waiver wire player that I want to point out is Latavius Murray. And this is in light of the news that Melvin Gordon was cut. We already knew that Melvin Gordon was not getting the majority of the share and was getting cut out. We knew that about Melvin Gordon. But we also knew that the Denver Broncos were this close to cutting Melvin Gordon before the Javonte Williams ACL injury. Instead, they hold on to Melvin Gordon and they say, you know what, Melvin, we're going to keep you around. You got to fix the fumbling problem. He kept the fumbling problem. Melvin Gordon fumbled in week 11. And instead, Latavius Murray, 17 carries, 4 targets. Yes, it was only 72 total yards. And you would have thought, oh, man, they're going to do well against Vegas. Well, it was a tough matchup. Still, 17.2 fantasy points because Latavius Murray got in the end zone. You are chasing the usage. I don't care that Denver is that bad. Latavius Murray is running back 2, running back 18 or so moving forward. that is volume dependent. And Chase Edmonds just placed on IR. So Latavius Murray's pretty safe. Mike Boone still on IR. Yeah, you're picking up Latavius Murray. You're probably putting 50% of the fab you have left on Latavius Murray or even higher. Like, look at your league mates. If you can afford to pay less than that to get Latavius on your team, that's what you want to do. He's a volume running back too, just like he's been for most of his career. And I'm not too worried, to be honest, about any of the other free agent running backs. Like, there's been rumors about, Darrell Henderson's going to join with the Denver Broncos. No, Darrell Henderson wants to win, right? And wants to get a fresh start. And Latavius Murray got 21 touches in this game against Las Vegas. Like, the Denver Broncos are probably pretty happy with Latavius Murray. I'm not too worried about Marlon Mack either. It's been the Latavius Murray show in Denver, and I expect it will continue to be that way moving forward. 55% of snaps and 15 to 20 carries, and sprinkle in 2 to 4 receptions for Latavius Murray, and then you're in good shape. The next player I want to bring up for your waiver wire is Skyy Moore, baby. You have to like Skyy Moore and what he's been doing. Okay. I mean, this past week, season high in snaps, tied for a season high in routes run, season high in targets, season high in receptions. 5 receptions, 63 yards, 11.3 fantasy points. Wasn't amazing, but it is worth putting on your radar with Kadarius Toney getting hurt, Marcus Valdes-Scantling being ineffective, and then Juju Smith-Schuster also recovering. We haven't heard like Juju should be good to go. No, this should be Skyy Moore. Travis Kelce scored 3 touchdowns in this game, but Moore was picked in the second round for a reason. This is a player, 90th percentile 40-yard dash. He ran a 4.41 at the 40. He was very productive in college. In 2019, 802 receiving yards in 13 games at Western Michigan as a 19-year-old. And then fast forward to 2021, 94 receptions, almost 1,300 receiving yards, 37% target share, 10 total receiving touchdowns. So you have to like that Skyy Moore is on the Chiefs, and he showed that he was producing. You're wondering if he's going to rotate in and out with Justin Watson, but I give the pedigree move to Skyy Moore. So that's the way I would roll, is picking up Skyy Moore in your regular 10 or 12 team leagues. If you're picking up Justin Watson, it's probably in a deeper league, and I would probably put more fab behind Skyy Moore. Okay. The second round capital is interesting. He's been slowly added more into the rotation of the wide receivers. And as I said, season high in routes, season high in snaps, season high in targets and receptions and receiving yards. His best wide receiver for performance so far. And this is what we tend to see from rookie wide receivers. You'll also notice in this show, there's a theme that I'll be hitting on some more rookie wide receivers, and Skyy Moore is one of them, who's probably on your waiver wire. The next player I want to bring to your attention is Juwan Johnson, tight end. Okay. Yes. Undrafted from Oregon. This is a really athletic tight end, 6'4", 230, 4.58 40-yard dash. That's 92nd percentile for tight ends, 78th percentile speed score, big time burst score, 66th percentile, 80th percentile agility score, 77th percentile catch radius. He's only 26. And with the Saints needing a little bit more offense with Michael Thomas out, right? Chris Olave is drawing a lot more attention on the defense. Jarvis Landry is back, and that frees up the likes of Juwan Johnson. Now, this week is a tough matchup. The San Francisco 49ers are 32nd. They give up the fewest tight end fantasy points. But if you look at what Juwan Johnson has done over the last 5 games, he's finished as a top 8 tight end. And he's had 42, 44, and 47 receiving yards over the last 3 games. He's had at least, 7 targets in 2 games this season. So he's seen a few games of higher target share. He continues to get red zone work. 7 red zone targets in 11 games. So he's used around the goal line, and it's not surprising. He's able to convert some of them. His 5 receiving touchdowns so far, and he finishes the tight end 6. So with Goddard out, with Zach Ertz out, Juwan Johnson sliding up the ranks as a tight end that you should be picking up if you need a fill-in for tight end. Okay, and he's a full-time player. Just because Adam Troutman or Taysom Hill are on the field does not mean that Juwan Johnson is not going to get the routes, right? He hasn't fallen below 14 routes in a game so far this season, and he's played, usually 70, 80% of snaps, full-time player, red zone target, and for a team that's desperate for playmakers, Juwan Johnson has made some plays this year. The next player I want to bring up is Treylon Burks, rookie out of Tennessee. And Treylon Burks, former first-round pick, he was traded. His was the pick that was originally the Eagles that was traded to the Titans in exchange for A.J. Brown. And he's working his way back. You have to like that he got 8 targets in this game, 14 targets over the last 2 games. He did play very well against Jair Alexander. 8 targets, 7 receptions, 111 yards, and you have to love the 100 air yards. He hadn't eclipsed 100 air yards since week 1 against Aaron Robinson. And finally, he played, he's been playing 50 to 60% of snaps over the last 4 games. Treylon Burks, though, coming away with the receptions, the receiving yards. So 7 receptions, 8 targets, 1 red zone target. He is a ceiling wide receiver 2, but we could see some ascension and a little bit more consistency. Before this game, Treylon Burks had not finished better than the wide receiver 55. Okay, so even against, Patrick Surtain in week 10, he did not do well. So I wouldn't expect a change in Treylon Burks's, at least a significant one, a change in his role. He's still going to be a 55 to 65% snap share player. But as long as he continues to get hyper targeted by Ryan Tannehill, imagine if he gets just a couple more targets on those more snaps that he plays. Like, we could see that ascension. So what I'm saying is, you want to pick up these type of players like Treylon Burks. Like, he's shown us some reason to believe in him. And then there's the ascension component that we could see him taking off near the end of the year. Nick Westbrook-Akine is not the answer for the Tennessee Titans. So Treylon Burks is a wide receiver that you should consider picking up for your waiver wire. All right, the next player that I want you to pick up from your waiver wire, Jahan Dotson. And this is also a former first-round pick, 2 picks ahead of Treylon Burks in the first round of the 2022 draft. Jahan Dotson returned to the lineup week 10. He only played 44% of snaps against Darius Slay, only had 1 target. And then in Houston, 67% of the snaps, only 2 targets. He ran more routes than week 10 against Philly. But this is a player who's finished as a top 25 wide receiver 3 times in his 6 games of his career. I know it's a new quarterback, but Jahan Dotson is working his way back into the rotation. He went from a 44% snap share to 67%. We can see that ascension happening. And then he's proven that he can come down with some of the passes. He's had 4 touchdowns on the year in 6 games. And he's shown a target ceiling against Philadelphia's James Bradbury back in week 3, 8 targets, 101 air yards. And Taylor Heineke, we expect that he's going to continue to be the quarterback and throw the ball down the field. And hopefully he continues to look for Jahan Dotson and not just Terry McLaurin. All right. The next player I want to bring to your attention, Kyren Williams. If you didn't hear the news, Darrell Henderson got cut today. And that means that the backfield is Cam Akers and Kyren Williams. Kyren Williams, the 5th round pick out of the University of Notre Dame. Go Fighting Irish. But what sets Kyren Williams apart is his pass catching pedigree. It's not the combine metrics. It's not the measurables. It's the pass catching pedigree. He's had 35 and 42 receptions each of the last 2 seasons at Notre Dame, an 11% target share or higher each of those 2 seasons, 48 or more targets during that span. And his receiving yards over 300 receiving yards in 12 games each of the last 2 seasons at Notre Dame. He rushed for nearly 1,000 yards each of the last 2 seasons, carried over 200 times for the Fighting Irish. And so this is a player who, as I've mentioned before on previous podcasts, he is a player that you need to pick up because he's shown that he can carry the load. And I know that it's Cam Akers, who's probably going to get the majority of the run, but Kyren Williams' player profiler comp is James White. And in a full PPR league, Kyren Williams is a player who's stepping into a larger pass-catching role in this backfield, and you have to be in on getting Kyren Williams, okay? His ceiling is like a mid to low running back 2, but he's probably going to be a consistent PPR running back 3 for you. And that's what he's been the last couple of weeks is this middle back end running back 3 with Darrell Henderson still there. But Henderson's now out of LA. Henderson's happy about it. And so Kyren Williams is a player that has opportunity. Now, the next player I want to talk about is a deeper cut. And I want you to consider getting Isaiah Spiller before things happen. We started to see a little bit of a sprinkling of Isaiah Spiller here in week number 11. He set a season high in snap share. He had 4 carries. He ran the most routes of the season. He had 2 targets, 2 receptions, 22 total yards. He finished as the running back 44 with 4.2 fantasy points in PPR. And this is a player who had an interesting pedigree at Texas A&M, 4th round pick. His player profiler comp TJ Yeldon, and Yeldon's had some interesting seasons or some interesting games as a running back too. And he fits the type of profile that Austin Eckler is, right? Isaiah Spiller, more of a pass catching back. He never had below an 8.4% target share. He never had below 20 receptions. He never had below 189 receiving yards. He is not even 20. He just turned 21? Yeah, he just turned 21. This is a new, fresh player who probably declared a year early. I wonder if he would have stayed one more year at A&M. He would have been, a day 2 pick. I don't think a 1st round pick was in his outcomes, but 946 or more rushing yards each of the last 3 seasons. And carried the ball 174 times, at least each of the last 3 seasons. So this is a player who fits the Austin Eckler role as a handcuff. He started to get more work. He's being trusted more by the coaching staff. And we could see more of an ascension and taking the load off of Austin Eckler later on. Okay. Let's see. There's a question here. My friends want CMC and Kittle for Hockenson, Higgins, and Mike Williams. No, it sounds good, but I'm worried about Williams' injury. Yeah, don't do it. I would say, I think I replied in the comments already, but I said I prefer the CMC Kittle side. And Ends Somniac, don't do it. Cletus Williams made a class. Williams won't be 100% until next year at best. Yeah, I am a little worried about the injury. Unless it's a really, really deep league and Mike Williams is going to be back, I just haven't heard it. So I would not pull the trigger on that yet. Maybe drop Warren for Spiller, head to the playoffs. Yeah, we don't know how long Jaylen Warren is going to be out, so I would pick up Spiller as a handcuff, especially if you don't have Austin Eckler. All right. The second to last player that I'd recommend is wide receiver Greg Dortch. Now, Greg Dortch was not supposed to get a lot of play in this game. In fact, he was a virtual 0 over the last few games since Rondale Moore had returned. And Greg Dortch is a short guy. He's 5'7", like 175. So he's not going to like be the other slot guy. But with Marquise Brown out, with Rondale Moore with a pulled hamstring, you should be considering pulling Greg Dortch, because Dortch had 103 receiving yards, only 23 air yards. So he's making his money close to the line of scrimmage, 9 receptions, 10 targets. This is the second time this season where Greg Dortch has had 10 targets in the game. He played a season high snap share out of the slot. And we don't know how Rondale Moore's injury is going to look. But at this point, this is the second time that we've seen Rondale Moore hurt this year, and we saw him hurt last year, and we saw him hurt back at Purdue. He missed significant parts of 2 seasons at Purdue. So Greg Dortch, we've seen 9 targets 3 different times so far this season. He needs to be a big-time pickup due to the role that he's going to have. I'm not chasing the points. I'm chasing the usage with Greg Dortch here. He finishes the wide receiver 10 this past week, week 11. The final player I'm picking up is Jameson Williams. Jameson Williams, the former first-round pick of the Detroit Lions. The Lions opened his window to begin practicing, and so he should be activated in the next 3 weeks. I don't think he'll be activated for Thanksgiving. So once again, this is a stash, and I've been saying stash Jameson Williams all this season. But this is a former 12th overall pick. And if you remember on draft night, the Lions were elated to get Jameson Williams. And if you are a contender, you need to be picking up Jameson Williams. This is a player who went off on Alabama, 1,500 receiving yards, 15 games, 79 receptions, 15 receiving touchdowns. He also had 2 touchdowns on special teams. So Jameson Williams, his 21-day window is open. Go pick him up, especially if you're in playoff contention. This is a player who has an elite ceiling. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, we've seen not be the touchdown maker. Jameson Williams' best comp on Player Profiler is Will Fuller. But imagine Will Fuller healthy, right? Speed wide receiver down the field, and hopefully he can get a quarterback next year that can match his talents, because holy buckets, this guy's ceiling is enormous, and you should be picking up right now, because what do the Lions have to lose? If they're firing him up and putting him on the field, you should be putting him in your, or at least considering putting him on your fantasy rosters. And if he shows out, putting him in your starting lineup. So Jameson Williams is a stash for now, but you need to be keeping tabs on Jameson Williams. Get him on your roster, pick him up. All right. Last ones. What's up, y'all? It's all right to play Vanilla Vic. It would be T-Law. I also have the Ravens, so I'm not like, I assume that that's Daniel Jones. So, I mean, you can play Daniel Jones. That's fine. He's got a nice floor. Also need DPJ, Thielen, or Rondell if he's healthy. I'm not banking on Rondell being healthy. Donovan Peoples-Jones or Thielen. This is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers get the Browns, and so I would probably go. I'd probably go DPJ. That's what I would do, Big Trev. All right, thanks everyone for tuning in. That was a quick waiver wire episode. I appreciate y'all tuning in, and until next time, good luck in the fantasy football streets, everybody.
Hey, really the only thing that gon' be normal is distribution. Normal folks gon' infuse some. Optimize your lineups and you feed the rest, you mute them. Turning it up, these numbers are loud. Peeping this game from a nimbus is wild. Making it rain while I embrace all this risk, I'm insane. Talking about that best bill, I'm the best till into the next world. Guess I got next still. Best bill, I'm the best rest till into the next world. Guess I got next still.